What's up, y'all? I'm Jalen Jalil, and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. This time, we're going to be talking about the newest Joker movie. I know. So, if you're new to Real Talk, as always, I will be spoiling the shit out of this movie. So, if you don't like spoilers, this will not be the best video for you. But if you don't really care about spoilers like that, then stay tuned and let's talk about it. So, Joker, Folie, Deux. I saw a lot of people online talking about how they did not like this movie. Some people were calling it Folie, I don't. No, some people really were saying that. I thought that was hilarious. The new Joker movie is from writer-director Todd Phillips, and it stars Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. It is a bit of a pseudo musical, but I have feelings on that as well. A lot of people hated that fact. A lot of people said that when they went to go see it, people were walking out in droves. Like before the movie even finished, people were getting up and walking out. So I was expecting this movie to just be straight trash. But we'll get into what I think after I saw it, and we'll see what you guys think as well. But first, let's break it down. So the movie starts off with animation, and we see the Joker pretty much battling his shadow self. So his shadow is literally kicking his ass in the first 5 seconds. He seems like more of a good guy. His shadow is the one that really gets him in trouble a lot of the times. And I thought it was pretty entertaining. I thought it was off to a great start. In fact, I think that animation portion was more entertaining than a lot of the movie, but we'll get into that later. So once the animation is finished, we get back into real life and we see that Arthur Fleck is in prison. Naturally, he killed 5 people. One of them on national television. Well, actually 6 if you count his mother, but nobody knows about that just yet. So 5 people, 1 on national television. Naturally, he's in prison. So we see him headed to his doctor and his lawyer to talk to him about the events, talk to him about the murders, what happened and what was going through his head. What the doctor and the lawyer are trying to push through to him is that we believe that you developed a split personality type of development disorder situation. That is what caused you to commit these crimes. You had a lot of trauma in your childhood from your mother, and they're trying to drive in his head because they have a case to build. They got a case to build that this happened because you have this split personality disorder. And that is the person who committed those crimes. So once he leaves the interview, he's guided past the classroom. And in that classroom, we hear music. We see a bunch of people standing around a piano and they're singing. So it's like a choir. Lady Gaga, her character's name is Lee. She is in there, she's singing with the choir. The guard takes notice to them singing music in there, and the guard sets it up for Arthur to be able to join the choir. He really did this for selfish reasons because he really wanted to sing. And he's cool with Arthur. Like, I mean, when you say cool, I guess as cool as an inmate and a guard could be. He gives Arthur cigarettes whenever Arthur tells a joke, or whenever he does something that he wants Arthur to do, he'll give him a cigarette as a reward. So that's kind of their cool relationship. Once he goes into the class, this is where he meets Lee, the Lady Gaga character, the love interest of this story. So at the end of the class, while the guard is inside singing his songs preoccupied, Arthur sneaks out to the hallway where Lee is. They talk about how much of a fan she is of his, how she's seen the TV movie that they made about him 1,000 times, and they start singing songs to each other, and we see that they really hit it off. Later on, when he gets back to his cell block and they have TV time, he's watching the TV and he sees that the news comes on and they're talking about him. They're talking about how the DA is seeking to give him the death penalty for the 5 people that they know that he murdered. Later, we see the inmates are having a movie night. Arthur is sitting next to, of course, Lee. How the fuck is she here? Anyway, she says, hey, let's sneak away. He's like, no, I want to watch this movie. I actually really like this movie. Gets a little attitude. She gets up and she goes to the back of the room. She sets the piano in the back of the room on fire. And then comes back and sits down and lays her head down on the shoulder like this, like nothing ever happened. The back of the room goes up in flames, and then everybody's evacuated. Everybody has to run out. And then subsequently, that flame gets bigger. That whole side of the building goes up in flames. So then Arthur and Lee go on this psychotic sightseeing song and dance around the prison where they're singing to each other. They're dancing, twirling in circles. You know, it's all musical and shit like that. They both get captured and then Arthur gets sent to the hole. And not for nothing, but at this point, the facility loses me because I'm like, is this max or is this minimum security? Is it co-ed? Because I'm like, At the beginning of the movie, it seems like they're in Max because they don't have cellmates. It's not like an open encampment. They're in like actual cells, not even cells with the bars. It's like when the door slams and they shut the little window. I'm like, that's Max, ain't it? And then when they have movie night, it seems more like maybe this is minimum security. I don't understand. But then she's here. So is this shit co-ed? Now, I've never been to prison, so I don't know what that shit is like. I could have sworn like they don't allow that. But I don't know. Maybe they do. If you have a little bit more insight about that, please feel free to sound off in the comments and let your boy know. Because I don't know anything about all of that. That didn't make sense to me, but... So once he's thrown in the hole, she comes in for a visit. How? Now, again, I don't know much about this whole situation, but I know damn well that's not reality. So he wakes up, she's right there. He's like, how did you get in here? She says, a guard let me in. How are you getting let into these places? Like, how is this happening? They start talking. They turn it into the most awkward conjugal visit. I mean, naturally, you know what I'm saying? Arthur is a very awkward individual. Lee is a very awkward individual. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to turn into some like endearing romantic or some like, you know, 50 Shades of Grey type of situation. But it was pretty fucking awkward. And during their awkward sex scene, if you want to call it that, during their awkward encounter, it was either before or after. Maybe it was during. She tells him that I'm getting out. He says, what? She says, yeah, they say you're a bad influence on me, so they're letting me out. What the fuck are you talking about? None of this is making sense. Now that part, we'll circle back to later. But at this point, I'm just like, none of this is making sense. So once she gets out, she's full steam ahead. She is spearheading this campaign in support of Arthur. Well, Joker, because that's who she really likes. The Joker part. She even gets to the point where once they get to trial, she is seen out in front of the press, like they're surrounded by cameras and press. And she is seen arguing with his lawyer, telling her, you don't know who your client is. You're going to take him down. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. I know the real him. I know the real him. She's like, who the fuck are you? I'm the love of his life. We're going to build a mountain out of a hill. And everybody, including the reporters, are like, what? What the fuck does that even mean? The lawyer leaves and she goes to see Arthur and she's like, I don't know who this girl is. You need to get rid of her. She's not for your benefit. And Arthur's like, oh, but no, she loves me. She loves me. We're from the same place. We have the same background. We have the same trauma from growing up. She says, listen, I did a background check on Shorty and guess what? She's a liar, a class A liar. The bitch is a liar. How about that? She told you that she's from the slums, like where you're from, all of this stuff she told you to relate. She don't relate to you. She's from the Upper East Side. Yeah. All that lie she told you about her father not being around, or either he wasn't around or he was dead or whatever. Basically, her father was not there. Daddy wasn't there. Her father is a doctor. She lied to you. She checks herself into the mental facility. She checks herself into this facility, which I'm like, how the fuck does this work? Because the mental facility was like in the prison. You're checking yourself into prison? Again, I'm just like, how does this work? Who has the ability to check themselves into prison and be at movie nights with inmates? That wasn't clicking for me. Again, if somebody has watched it in more detail than I did, and you can clarify that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Because that part, I was just like, I don't understand. Anyway, that's the real reason why she ended up leaving. It wasn't because they let her out because they said he was a bad influence, because I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. So at least that kind of came back. And I was like, okay, she lied. She's a liar. Okay, she really checked herself in and she checked herself out. Okay, well, that's one thing I can mark off my list. She goes to visit him in prison, this time actually behind like the glass wall. He asks her, hey, you been lying to me? She says yes. She confesses that everything was a lie. She really liked him. She was really interested in him and she wanted to get close to him. He even asked, did you really see my movie thousands of times? Yeah, I saw it 3 times. Was it actually really good? Yeah, it was good. It was a good movie. It was good. The movie was trash. We find out later that the movie was trash, which is so hilarious because in the movie, we talk about the Joker movie being trash, but the actual... Let's move on. After he forgives all the lies, she says, I'm pregnant. Pregnant? You're fucking lying. You're a fucking liar. I was like, Arthur, listen to your lawyer, because this girl is a problem. She's a real problem.
You're a problem. You're a real problem.
I think she's lying, but whatever. We never figure out if she's lying or not, but I think the bitch was lying. He later goes on to fire his lawyer in front of the cameras and everything in the middle of the trial. Mind you, the trial is a pretty big deal. It's live televised. I don't think they do a greater job of showing the magnitude of what his trial meant to like the city at large. But the trial was a big deal. And he tells the judge that I want to represent myself. I'm firing my lawyer as of right now. The judge actually allowed him to come into court and represent himself as Joker. So now he has the suit on, the dyed hair, the makeup, everything in front of all these damn cameras. I don't know why the judge allowed that, but he allowed that. So now there's like fanfare around the entire thing. And it causes a bit of a stir back at the prison because now all of the prisoners, they're getting wrapped up in the fanfare and they're singing songs in support of Arthur or Joker. And the inmates basically lose control and they take it out on Arthur every time he comes back. After the abuse that he suffers back at the prison and just everything that goes on around him, I think the whole Joker persona really starts to weigh down on him. So when he gets into court, one day he just ups and he denounces the Joker altogether. And his supporters don't like that. His supporters walk out. Lee walks out on him. He confesses to all of his crimes. He confesses to not only killing the 5 people, including the one on television, he confesses to killing his mother, which they didn't even know about. Later in the trial, while the jury is reading out the guilty verdicts for the crimes that he has now confessed to, the courtroom blows up. There's a bomb outside of the courtroom that blows up where there were thousands, they said, that were gathered, and the whole thing just blows up randomly out of nowhere. And then he goes out to find the girl. He goes to find Lee. Once he finds her, he finds her on those long steps that we see him doing the dance in the first one. He goes up those stairs to find her there, and he says, hey, the courthouse blew up. Let's run away together. Let's be kooky and crazy and run away together and forget all our inhibitions. Let's do it. No. You denounced the Joker. You ruined my fantasy. How dare you? That was what was holding us together. The fantasy. And you ruined it. And then she starts singing some songs and he says, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear singing right now. I want to go away together. Why are you telling me no? What about the baby? And she looks at him like, this is over, Arthur. And then she walks up the fucking stairs. The cops come down as soon as she walks up the stairs and take his ass back to prison. You should have listened to your fucking lawyer. She's a problem. She was a real big problem. Well, you had a multitude of problems before her, but you didn't need another one. After being taken back to prison, he is told by one of the guards that he has a visitor. Once the guard leads him to where the visiting section is, the guard gets ahead of him and he's kind of left back in this dark hallway by himself. Another inmate comes back in front of him and says, hey, Arthur, can I tell you a joke? Yeah, sure. Make it quick. I gotta go though. He tells him I forgot the dumbass joke, but he tells him a joke and then stabs him. Stabs him up pretty bad. Stabs him to death, actually. And there's this whole dramatic scene of him falling down and, dying from the stab wounds. Blood all over the wall. And then the crazy person is behind him that stabbed him up is doing this weird menacing laugh. He died because some kooky motherfucker came behind him, asked to tell him a joke, and then stabbed him up. And then he died. And that was the end of the movie. Joker. Folie, Deux. So, what I liked about the movie, it looked good. It looked really good. The cinematography was great. The different shots, the different angles, the few of the unbroken, seamless tracking shots, amazing. They really did a great job with that. But I assumed it would because the budget was bigger. The budget was bigger for this movie than the first one. So if the first one looked that great, I'd imagine this one would as well. So that was really great. Even those musical sequences that everybody seems to hate were shot very well. They spent a lot of time on them, clearly. But, it was time well served in regards to how it looked visually. I liked Joaquin Phoenix's performance. I did. I thought he did a really good job, just like in the first one, of just showing that duality of Arthur and Joker. Even his disposition and how he changes. He's very first of all, he's very emaciated and very humpbacked disposition when he has like the whole Arthur thing going on, and he has this stride with him when he has the Joker going on. So I love that duality they had there. Even with the cartoon, how they set it up in the beginning, the Joker character with his shadow. Even with the lawyer, they kept trying to say that there was a difference between Arthur and Joker, and I think that came through in Joaquin Phoenix's performance, definitely. And even Lady Gaga, she was, Lady Gaga. I'm not saying that to be funny. A lot of people were shitting on her performance, but from what I saw, it was really just, she was Lady Gaga. It just was what it was. In fact, one bit of praise that I can give her on this, she normally does a lot. She normally takes her acting roles like kind of overboard, if that's just my personal opinion. A lot of times she takes stage acting and puts it in film, and a lot of times that does not read. Sometimes it comes across as a little bit much, like you're doing a little bit much. This one seemed a little bit like she was leaning back into the role a little bit more. She said in an interview that she felt really connected to certain hidden parts of this character, and that the character really related to her in a lot of different ways. But a lot of actors say that shit. But yeah. So I didn't feel like her performance was as terrible as a lot of people make it seem. It wasn't amazing. I'm going to say that. It wasn't amazing, but I felt it was doable. It was watchable. I thought the musical numbers sounded actually pretty good. I saw a lot of people were shitting on Joaquin Phoenix's singing. I didn't think it was that bad. Now, would I go and listen to a Joaquin Phoenix album? Hell no. But at the end of the day, in the context of this movie, I can listen to a few musical numbers. I think he did pretty well. Like, he hit all his notes pretty well. And I think it would be more inauthentic if he just busted out singing like amazingly well, because that wouldn't fit the character. He grew up listening to a lot of these standards, these musical standards, because like his mother will play them, but he himself isn't a great talented singer. So I feel like it made sense. Lady Gaga, of course, sounded well, but I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why they had her in the movie in the first place. This was right up her wheelhouse in regards to the type of music that they were singing, the standards that they were singing. So I didn't mind how the musical numbers sounded. There also was a very engaging scene in the courthouse where Puddles, the little guy who Arthur saved, like he shot everybody else up in the apartment. You can leave, you can go. He ends up coming back to testify in court, and he's testifying against Arthur, but there's this moment in there where he's brought to tears, and he's just like, I don't want to do this, but you did terrible things to people, but I don't want to because you were always the one that stuck up for me. You were the one that never made fun of me. You were like, he really like is getting choked up, and he's like, it was a very, I think the most powerful scene in the movie, but it's not really saying much. I think that's pretty much everything that I'll hit on that I really liked. So on that note, we'll move into some things that I think could have been better, or some things that I think could have been changed. I think the audience really wasn't interested in this movie because it didn't go anywhere. The first movie, we were really interested in his journey and even like how he got to villainry. Like his character really took a backseat in this film, and they were really trying to push Lee Quinn. Didn't even do enough character development on her character to even make it a push for her. All we knew was that she was a fucking liar and she's a lunatic because she was checking herself into prison for her celebrity killer crush. That was it. Once he fucked up her fantasy, she left. The reason I don't mind the musical numbers is because I feel like the musical numbers is what kept pumping some sort of life into this fucking film. Clear! Like, I think that's what the musical numbers were. It was placed here due to the lack of storyline. The movie is 2 hours. The movie's 2 hours long. So it felt like these musical numbers are here just to pump some sort of life into this. That's the only reason I was really grateful for the musical numbers. They weren't the best musical numbers I've ever seen in my life because, again, this was like a pseudo musical type situation. It just seems like they got their sequel budget and they allocated it to the wrong places. Like, instead of allocating it to writers who could come up with some really innovative ideas, they allocated those funds to the rights to do these musical numbers. Like, the initial movie had a lower budget, but the storyline was amazing. And then the cinematography was amazing. I just feel like there was no reason that the story couldn't have been more imaginative or just better. I would have made the ending much more dramatic if I had like a say in that. I would have done maybe, okay, so like spitballing, follow me here. So they wanted to give him the death penalty. So I would have had an electric chair scene because I'm pretty sure 1983, I'm pretty sure the electric chair, I'm pretty sure they still did the electric chair back then. After everything happened, the girl left him. He gets sentenced. They make it a big fanfare how the whole city is either against him or behind him. The whole city is invested in this death penalty ruling. So they rule him with the death penalty and he has to face the electric chair. And the very last scene is him walking to the electric chair, taking him down the hall, real dramatic fashion and shit like that. Use your imagination. And he's walking toward the electric chair, but we really see like right in his eyes. But he has like this kind of like this sinister kind of smile on. Cause I think after his life is going to shit, I think he's ready to piece the fuck up out of here. Or maybe he's like doing that Joker laugh type shit. And he is dramatically, they got this little slow-mo of him walking down the hall towards the electric chair. And then since y'all want to be musical and shit, in the background you play some fucking Frank Sinatra, one of my favorite songs by Frank Sinatra. You can play My Way because the lyrics will really fucking be poignant in this moment. And now the end is near. Since y'all want to do a motherfucking musical, y'all want to put standards in here? Put Frank Sinatra in this bitch. And so I face the final curtain. And as that song is being played, he's walking to the death penalty. And then we see just like the freaking chaos going on around. We can hear people on the news talking about it. We can see like helicopters flying around. Like really go out with a bang because he's a really big character. We see like the pro Joker people. Maybe they got hats and shirts and shit. And they're like protesting outside of the prison or whatever. Like just sending him like, you know, Joker, 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 Joker. He's walking down the halls. You got the prisoners like banging on the cells, like, you know, singing their songs, or not singing songs, but like no more singing, no more singing. Just Frank Sinatra in the background. That's all we gotta have. But they're banging on their cells in support and solidarity of him. Even if you want to make it extra dramatic, like where he was on the steps and he was like doing his little dance coming down the steps, you can have moments where like they cut to his like dream state where he's like kind of dancing to the electric chair or some shit like that. But then they snap back to reality and they see him being dragged there. I hope I'm like explaining that correctly because like I see it in my head. But like, cause basically this whole movie was like dipping and dodging in and out of his subconscious, dipping out of his like his dream state. So that could be another portion of that. And then once he gets there in the electric chair, we get to the really big part of I did it my way. Boom, pull down, pull the fucking lever down, and then the camera gets like a aerial shot. And he just looks up and he's like, he does that sinister ass Joker laugh as that shit fries him to death. Now, most people are gonna be like, damn, that's a bit much. But I like, it's not graphic the way I see it in my head. Then we still see the people cheering for him outside. And we see all the people with the clown makeup on their faces and shit. And then we like pan out. Just the symbol to show like, although he's no longer here, his impact will always be here type shit. Because he's a very big figure. Like, Joker's a very big figure. It could have been something a lot more than him being stabbed up by some kooky motherfucker in the back of a hallway. I just feel like the character's way too big and it was really disrespectful for him to die like that. I don't know. That's just me. Hopefully you can see what I was talking about. Hopefully you can envision it. But if not, you know, whatever. All in all, I feel like I would give this movie... A lot of people were saying 1 star. I don't want to say 1 star. I would give this, based off of the production alone, I'd probably say 2, maybe 2.5. Because it was like, it wasn't complete shit. It was really just, it just wasn't what people were expecting. And I think that's what it really is. I think people's feelings are hurt because it wasn't what they were expecting. But if you look at the movie for exactly what it is, it lacks a lot in storyline, but a lot of movies lack in storyline these days. A lot of people don't put a lot of investment in their storylines. They put a lot of investment in the camera work, the cinematography, and all of that stuff. But they don't really put a lot of investment in good storytelling. So, I'll say 2.5 stars. Would I watch this again? Probably not. Hey guys, you want to watch that Joker Folie Deux? We're not putting that on. But if I'm at somebody's house and we're watching it, I mean, I'm not going to be upset. I'll sit down and finish it. I'll probably be on my phone half the time. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, what would be some suggestions you would have for the movie? Do you see my vision on where I was going with it? If not, that's cool too. Be respectful. I'll be respectful of your comments as well. Okay? Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next episode of Real Talk. Peace out.
it.